Theistic revolt against Arabian idolatry, associatism, did not begin in the 7th century with Muhammad, meaning he didn't start monotheism or Islam. It was already in circulation. A number of 4th, 5th century CE inscriptions evidence of a radical religious change happened in South Arabia. That's before Muhammad. Muhammad was in the 7th, and you got 4th and 5th century in South Arabia. We're talking about Yemen. Getting back to monotheism because they lost it. Associatism gives way to a monotheism focused on a deity called simply Rahman, the merciful. This pre-Quranic Arabian monotheism seems to be of neither Jewish nor Christian origin. It says it right there. Right? Now watch this. The Orthodox Christian Sosiminos, 443-450, that's AD, who was aware of the fact that the Arabs first observed the same monotheistic customs as the pre-Mosaic ancient Hebrews, but over time succumbed to the idolatry of their neighbors. Reported that some northern Arabs at this time also rejected this idolatry and returned to the monotheistic way of life. So Sosiminos was before Muhammad. He lived in the 5th century, 443 to 450. There's always one above when you say century, but he was before Muhammad and he saw this. Patricia Crone recognized the implications of the report for the tradition. Sosiminos' information adds up to is that by the 5th century, the Arabs themselves, this is her talking, Patricia Crone, another top scholar, had become familiar with the idea that they were Abrahamic monotheistic by origin, at least in the Gaza area, a Quraysh Matjar, and that some of them rejected by becoming what the Islamic tradition describes as Hanifs. The Hunifa, Hanif is singular, were individuals spread out in the urban areas, Mecca, Yathrib, which is Medina, Al-Ta'if, etc., who adhered to a non-idolatrous monotheism called Hanifa, long before Muhammad emerged on the scene. As Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to start off from where I left. The men of whom we speak determined to restore the worship of God Most High Ta'ala to its proper place by abolishing not only the cult of the inferior deities who had almost entirely supplanted him, but also many of the most immoral of the practices then prevalent. These are your sources. I'm giving you all the sources so you'll know where they are. You can put the computer on pause, get them, write them down, get the books if you can afford them or whatnot, but you got the pages and you have the info. So here's another historical fact. He said Islam wasn't before Muhammad. Islam is a new religion. Watch this. I have a plethora of information, people. I'm just giving you a couple of them. The Talbiyah. See, Josh don't know this stuff. Josh is not an Islamic studying person. He don't know Islam, and I hope he don't try to teach Islam because he don't even know how to speak Arabic. He don't know how to write it. He can't teach it. He don't know it. He said that himself. I asked him. The Talbiyah of the Banu Himyar, the black tribe, they stress therein that they address Allah on behalf of their kings who are pious and stay away from sin due to Islam. It's called Tanazuhan wa Islam, and is the devotion to Allah alone. They knew Allah before that. They was dealing with Allah alone before the idols came in. Ask Josh, who brought the idols into Mecca? Since he knows so much, then it goes on to say, the Hajj or pilgrimage is well documented, pre-Quranic in Mecca, as Jacques Rickmans inform us with the details of an Islamic pilgrimage before Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The classical Nabatean, Himyarite, and Sabian sources mention pilgrimages. The Historical Origin of Islam, page 93. So, Nabatean, who was Arabs, Himyarite, who was Arabs, Sabians, who were Arabs, had pilgrimages. Hagar, radiallahu anhu, Ishmael, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was his mother. She was an Egyptian, according to your Bible. That's the Egyptians praying on their face, and that's the Muslims right beside it, to your right side. Okay? They praying on their face. I'm pretty sure she taught her son how to pray, how to eat, how to fast, how to clean himself, and everything. That was her son. Then Ishmael, guess what? Married Egyptian women himself. Okay? So that's one part of the prostration that we do. We didn't get that from the Israelites. This is thousands of years before Abraham came on the scene. This is off the wall of Egypt. And you see the lady with her hands up? We do that too. Now, let's go to another one. Egyptians bowing with hands on their knees, praying in the tomb of Nefertiti. That's off the wall of Nefertiti. You see how he got his hands on his knees? Same thing as the Muslim. Josh don't do that. I asked Josh, how do he pray? Do he pray towards the east? He said, sometimes. I know these dudes is not practicing. I can tell because on your face that you're not practicing that prayer. You're not practicing what you supposed to be practicing. You said sometimes? Dude, we do this every day. We don't go sometimes. And then had a nerve to tell me about the Egyptians being in the east. How they gonna go pray east? Dude, if we're standing in the United States, Egypt is east of us. If we go to Egypt, there's an east to Egypt. The Egyptians always prayed east towards the sun. the rising of the sun. Go read. And they prayed to the south, to their ancestors. Did you know that? No, you didn't. I couldn't believe he said that. Here's another prayer that we do. Josh don't do that. That's an Egyptian woman, and that's a Muslim man with his hands on his chest. Some put it depends on what school you follow. You can put it below your navel or above your navel. And the women in Islam pray just like her. They put their hands near their breasts. So we didn't steal anything from the Israelites. You have nothing to steal. Okay? So, I mean, like, y'all got to get that straight. You got your months. See all these months? You got your months from the Babylonians. You didn't get those from Yahweh. You got your fringes from the Egyptians. This is thousands of years before Abraham came on the scene. Before Moses was even born, they was wearing fringes. This is before Moses. Okay? So, I mean, you should just stop it. If you are still saying this after all the knowledge and the evidence I have given, then something is wrong. Something is purely wrong. Okay? Because if somebody gives evidence, you should be like, yo, okay, cool. I ain't gonna mess with that. You didn't bring no evidence. Only thing you kept saying is the Bible was for the Quran. So everybody's saying that. Now you're hopping on that bandwagon. You talking about I didn't use the Quran because you don't believe in it. Yeah, you don't. I'm using non-Muslim sources. That's a debate. I use non-Muslim sources, so I can't move to a biased point. Okay? So therefore, I didn't use the Quran. You talking about Sabbath was copied by Muhammad with Juma. That's a lie. In the Quran, it tells you why Juma was made. Allah made up Juma just like he made up the Sabbath for the Israelite. Juma don't even match up to the Sabbath. First of all, Juma is on Friday at about 1 o'clock, lasts for an hour. We go back to work. Sabbath is on Saturday. Y'all don't do no work at all. You know what the word copy is? Plagiarize is? Because I don't know what your definition is, but, and then you try to get crafty with it and say he modified it a little bit. Dude, show us a document by 3 top scholars that Muhammad stole everything, even stole from the Sabbath to make Juma, and I'll believe you. Because you ain't show us that. You ain't give us no citation.
Prophet Muhammad deviated from his cultural continuity. His tribe, the Quraysh, who came from out of Ethiopia.
Jesus Christ is the same thing.
Wait a second. The Cushites.
What is he saying though?
The Cushites were worshippers. Listen. The Cushites were worshippers of the goddess Het Haru. Het Haru in Yemen becomes the goddess Alat.
So where was Jesus
mother
at?
of the gods. Dr. Yosef bin Yaakov, come on, says in his two important books, The Black Man's North and East Africa and African Origin of the Major Western Religions. He says, quote, the name Allah was the origin of the later word Allah or Supreme God. Dr. Ben says Muhammad ibn Abdullah lost Allah in the Arabian Peninsula at Mecca. I love Dr. Ben. I honor Dr. Ben and I respect his liberation scholarship. But Dr. Ben on this point, but consequential point, is wrong. As Arthur J, Canadian Islamicist, documents and affirms the name Allah was well known in pre-Islamic Arabia. Indeed, both it and its feminine form, Allah, are found not infrequently among the Theophorus names in inscriptions from North America.
From Arabia.
North Arabia. He said Muhammad lost Allah. Muhammad, born in the 6th century, lost Allah and created the name, the God Allah, from the female goddess Allah in the 6th century. Here are old Syrian inscriptions dated from 165 CE, inscribed on the temple, a sanctuary in Sumarta Herbesi, Syria. The Arabic Syria says, I, Teradati, son of Adonai, governor of the Arabs, built this altar and set up a pillar for Mar Allah, Lord Allah. 400 years before Muhammad was ever born, there was a sanctuary in Syria with inscriptions dedicated to the Lord Allah. How could Muhammad have lost something that existed 400 years before he was born, but more hundreds and thousands of years before he was born? When
oh, go ahead.
In Allah, before Islam, in this article, in the Muslim Journal, on my site, truthofgodinstitute.com. I have this whole article uploaded. He says, go research it for yourself. He don't give us anything to go research.
Right.
He don't give us any sources. He don't give us any citations. He give us pictures in his comedic interpretation. Right. Keep that. We don't want that, man. We want to know what it's worth.
There you go.
When it documents in Central and North Arabia, 500 BCE, 1,000 years before Muhammad, there are hundreds of inscriptions, Leonided Talmudic inscriptions invoking Allah. Like this, I brought the inscriptions. Because this is about documentation, not speculation. Oh Allah, God without offspring, in thee be joy. 1,000 years before Muhammad, there are inscriptions invoking Allah as God. Who are these invokers of Allah? The Leonided scriptures were written by the Banu Lithyan, the tribe of Lithyan. The tribe of Lithyan was a subgroup of a broader tribe called Hudayr. What do we know about Hudayr? The Encyclopedia of Islam tells us their skins were black and shiny. These were black worshippers of Allah. Your skin ain't black and shiny. Talking all this black talk and this anti-light skin talk. These worshippers of Allah were 1,000 years before Muhammad were black worshippers of Allah. Who are they? These Leonidite, these black worshippers of Allah, 1,000 years before Muhammad, were remnants of the original population of Arabia. Who was the original population of Arabia? Well, Noble Rashidi tells us in his book, African presence in early Asia. African presence in early Asia. The Arabian Peninsula was, like much of Asia, first populated by black people. Some of the surviving black populations, known as the Bedouins, major portions of the Mongol population still found in the extremities of Arabia. This is a black area. You doubted its existence. Here's a black area. Here's a black area, Makra area. These are the first worshippers in Allah, in Arabia, and on the planet. But let's go further. Arabia, those Arabians who founded the worship of Allah were Africans. For Arabia, we know, is but Northeast Africa. As Maurice O'Tasi tells us in the annual review of anthropology, the Arabian Peninsula is the geological extension of Africa. Typically, the peninsula is a part of Africa, landscaped by the same geological and climate processes as the Eastern Sahara and the Ethiopian highlands. In general, Africa is the continuation. Arabia is the continuation of the African system across the Red Sea. That is one corner, one room in our global house. And what took place in Arabia, what black folks in Arabia contributed to the onward march of civilization, they are African contributions to the onward march of civilization. And one of the things they contributed to the onward march of civilization is Islam. Now, because I detoured to deal with some of that off-topic mess that he put out there, some of my main argument I'm going to have to put to my rebuttal. There are temples. No, let me. One of the contributions the Africans in Arabia made to the onward march of civilization is Semitism. I know you can't read the brother say that. I'll translate it for you. One of the contributions they made to the onward march of civilization is Semitic culture and a Semitic language. We were the first speakers of Semitism. The so-called Proto-Semites were people who migrated from the heart of Africa into the Levant 9,000 years ago. Werner Down, a German Orientalist, in his important book, Ursemitic Religion, meaning Proto-Semitic religion, he was able to, on the basis of the epigraphic evidence, the hard data, reconstruct the religion or aspects of the religion of the original Proto-Semites, those first black speakers of Semitic language. And he tells us that the God of those ancient black Semites was a biliteral term, written with two letters, two Semitic letters. One, a glottal stop, making a sound ah. The second, a dark egg, making a sound ah. The biliteral pronunciation of the biliteral name of the God of the Semites was Allah. That's right. This biliteral Allah evolved orthographically into the quadriliteral Arabic Allah. What that means is that 9,000 years ago, black Semites worship Allah. BCE is when we have Osam. If you can produce, not your speculation, give me a reference to Osam prior to this rap. Allah, on the other hand,
Carry it right now.
Allah, on the other hand, don't do that. We respect him.
All right. Respect.
I know why. Studies in 3rd millennium Sumerian and Akkadian names. The Akkadians were black Semites who entered Mesopotamia and mixed with the Sumerians 4000 BCE. Though this literature we have of Akkadian are Akkadian Sumerian personal names, or lists of personal names. And in the list, in the text, from the Pharaoh period, 27 to 2600 BCE, 2 centuries before Osiris makes an appearance. Allah makes an appearance in the Akkadian text from 2600 BC. You have Iku Allah. Allah has proved true. You have Inna Allah. Mercy, oh Allah. 200 years, 2 centuries prior to the first physical evidence of Asa. You have physical evidence of Allah. Get it right. Oh, he mentioned the Himyarites. He didn't mention them, right? You want to try to press you that he know a little bit about the subject at hand. I'm glad you did that. What do we know about the Himyarites? Mister, there is no Islam before Muhammad. Mister, there is no African Islam, and then you invoke the Himyarites? D.S. Margolis says, it may be said with practical certainty that the name Muslim existed with religious value before Muhammad's time, and that the word Islam was known already to the Prophet and other persons in the sense of monotheists. It was practically certain in 903. By 1985, it was absolutely certain that the worship, the veneration of Allah was called Islam before Muhammad. Who called it Islam before Muhammad? M.J. Kishner, in his article, in Jerusalem Studies in Arabic and Islam, his article, Labayk Allahumma Labayk, on a monotheistic aspect of a Jahili practice. He documents that prior to Muhammad's reform movement, the Arabs of Arabia would travel to the Mecca and participate in a ritual, the climax of which is they're giving us talbiyah. They're saying, here I am, O Allah, in your august presence. Kishner documents 17 different tribes in a way that gave the talbiyah. And he mentions specifically the talbiyah of Himyar is significant. The Himyarites, the one Reverend Chuck Singleton, Brother Natural Tahoudi involved. What do we know about Himyar? In their talbiyah, they say they are before Allah, Tanazu wa Islam, avoiding sin due to Islam. And who are the Himyarites? They travel to the Kaaba and invoke solitary veneration of Allah and call that Islam. Who are they? The name Himyar was given to the black race of Arabia, Drusilla Dungy Houston, and Wayne Chandler and Ranoku Rashid. These black Himyarites are documented as practicing Islam before Muhammad.
بسم الرب الخالق الكريم. Begin all things with the illustrious name of the Sustainer, the generous Creator. In the very beginning was the Word, La ilaha illallah.